Hey, ladies and gentlemen, boys and berries. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, boys and berries. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, boys and berries. It's me, Bradley G, here at Synergy Cafe, and I've got a guest that has not yet arrived, possibly some technical difficulties. But here's what's going down. His name is Brandon Beachum, or it may be pronounced Beckham. I'm not sure. I would ask him, but I have not found him yet. He's out trying to figure out how to find the find the link. Sometimes you email these things through and they just don't go through. But his name is Brandon Beachum. He's a creator and a within influencer. So it's about going within kind of thing. Doing some of the looking around. He's got a very cool website with this thing called the Golden Key, and then he's got a podcast, and it's about more meditation and stuff. And I just heard him go into the green room, so I'm going to go get Brandon. And just hang on a second, and I'll go get him. He's got to be in here somewhere. Hey, Brandon, how you doing?
Mr. MagicBrad, how are you, my friend?
I am well. How are you doing?
Really good, really good. It's bright and early here in Los Angeles, and I'm ready to chat.
Yeah, I spent some time out there. I spent a year in the Covina Glendora area, and then a year over in North Hollywood, Studio City.
Gotcha. Yeah, I'm in Venice Beach area.
Okay.
Yeah,
some time there too.
What's that?
I spent some time there too, hanging out.
Yeah. Me and my son Brad live in a co-living in event space. We call the Mystic Manor here in in Venice Beach area.
Well, cool.
Yeah.
Well, I did some poking around on your website and stuff, and I don't do these real long. I keep them kind of condensed, and just so you know, that's what I do is put that up there, and then I chop it into little shorts and propagate it out on the internet, and let the internet do its work.
Cool. So how long do you normally do these normally go for you?
This will probably 15, 20 minutes, maybe 30 if we have fun.
Easy. Okay.
You never know. These days, I'm not a Joe Rogan, so I can't
go 4 hours.
Big audience. So how long have you been doing what you're doing in this spiritual meditation realm?
I started the Positive Head podcast in 2015. So we're just coming up on I think May will be 9 years. So, and I've been on my own sort of, I guess you could say, spiritual journey for 25 years or so. But really started putting content out there, at that time.
Okay. What was it that triggered you onto a spiritual journey as opposed to the physical realm?
Yeah. I was raised very conservative Christian and went to a Christian college and ultimately got kicked out for being one of the quote unquote bad kids, AKA normal. And, and I met someone who claimed to have some intuitive or psychic ability. And I was intrigued because she demonstrated some things that supported her claims. And so I started, exploring from there, like, oh, wow, okay, this is different. This is outside of what I've been told, or, the bill of goods I've been sold. And I started reading different books and things, and then started having a lot of experiences myself that sort of supported the idea, books like Conversations with God, with Neil Donald Walsh, who I had the pleasure of interviewing on Positive Head podcast recently. It was kind of like, I can only think, because it is my dharmic path to do the work that I do, that it just, I kind of was like, oh my gosh, of course it's structured this way. Of course I'm one with the source consciousness that creates and animates all things, and everything, everywhere I go, I'm there waiting for myself. And it's me reflecting me back to me, showing me what I need to become the next greatest and greatest version of myself. And, as I started to apply that perspective to my life, it really, continued to, reveal itself, I suppose. I think when you are looking at such matters, when you're ready to start peeking under the hood, what you look at, it looks back. And that definitely happened to me in a profound way. And here we are many years later, doing this work.
Yeah, I found that it is that way. You hit bottom, so to speak, and there's no other place to go, and you end up having to, like, what got me on the path was Deepak Chopra's book, The Seven Spiritual
Oh
Laws.
yeah, that's a good one. I read that one early on too. Yeah.
It made a lot of sense to me the way it was laid out and everything, and I understood the pure potentiality and all that kind of thing. But when I
It's a
was a
great
kid,
one.
I was definitely one of these, I don't believe in God. And then all of a sudden I started thinking, well, there's got to be something. And it
Yep.
takes a
Right.
while to kind of grasp all that.
Yeah,
Um,
right. It's like it didn't create itself. Doesn't make quite that much sense to me when you look at the complexity of what's happening here. It's obviously designed.
yeah, I was thinking about that just the other day, the concept of if it's true that there's billions and billions of stars out there, and we think that here on Earth we're something, it's kind of really pretty insignificant
Yeah.
in an infinite universe, right?
Yeah, I think it's a fractal. So, if you zoom in on the particles that make me up that actually appear solid, but when you at further review, you find their vibrations of energy, and what we call solid is really 99.9999% space. Their
Right.
vibrations of energy popping in and out of existence. It's a light show. It's light, and what does it look like? You've got the protons, electrons going around, the nucleus, like it's like looks exactly like what is happening out in the cosmos, as above, so below. It's a
That's what I was just going to say. The as above,
Yeah, it's a
so below
fractal. It's the same thing as happening on different scales. And you are, I believe, a cell in the just like these cells are independent living entities in your with their own programming and ideas and jobs and life force that then come together to make a organ that then come together to make a human, and then you're a cell in the body of this earth, which is a cell in the
Right.
body of a bigger system, and on it goes.
And then going the other way, you got the atoms and the neutrons and the protons and the quarks and the strings, and it goes
Yep.
back in the other direction.
That's
Yeah.
right. That's right. Yeah.
So your thing, I think, what your big thing is meditation, right? The positive head of going
Well,
into
I don't know if I'd say meditation as much as mindset,
right.
right? Which of course they're hand in hand. Meditation is probably the most revered tool to keep yourself in a positive headspace and to manage your vibration. So certainly it's a powerful tool. And as someone who has a lot to say, I think my highest offering is sharing perspectives, verbally, if you will, words, and stringing them together in such a way that it causes an energetic impact on someone and helps them to shift their perspective in order to step into the next greatest version of themselves.
Yeah, I know that I've had situations like I've had multiple DWIs. I don't drink anymore. I gave that all up. But my first one, it was like, oh, my life is falling apart. And then when I look back on it, it's actually getting better. All of a sudden, you have this awakening, and you start living a more positive and clean life. And the darkness is just the absence of light, right?
Right, right. And once you understand, a big turning point for people is once you understand that life is happening for you, not to you,
Yeah.
and everything is reflecting you in some way, shape, or form, showing you what you need in order to become the next greatest and greatest version of yourself. So if you start looking through that lens of, instead of this, you know, this idea that there's an out there, really, I would say there is no out there out there. It's everything's vibrational in nature, like we just talked about. So that which is likened to itself is drawn. Water seeks its own level. So whatever you're calling in as a vibrational match to where you're at in your journey has something for you. It's reflecting you. It's showing you something about yourself. And that's easy when it's something that we really prefer, right? And smooth seas never made for a skilled sailor, and we came to be skilled sailors. And so, oh, okay, now it's showing me something. Instead of pointing at, you did this and that's wrong out there, it's like, why is this happening for me?
Right.
What is this showing me about myself that I can learn from? Where is the diamond under this lump of coal? And you start looking through that lens, it's a game changer.
I'm 66, going on 67 in June, and I've gone through a couple of midlife crisis kind of things, and now I'm going through another one. And I got a little bit of a disadvantage in that my magical background. I can kind of see behind the curtain, and
Hmm.
I'm an advocate of a I would say a third entity, a coach or a mentor to help, because when you start having these conversations with yourself and you read these self-help books, it's your interpretation of what the self-help is doing, and you're in your head game, and you need to get out of that and have someone. Do you do coaching and consulting for people?
I have done some of that. Main focus has been offering my advice freely and widely, through the podcast, to anyone who will listen. So, and I've done over 2,200 episodes in 9 years, so I
Well,
have a lot of content.
I think it's important that someone like yourself, a third entity, can come in and call bullshit on a person. Like
Mm-hmm.
what I'm resorting to, literally going to a resort. I'm
Hmm.
in Costa Rica because I like I said, I play games on myself, and
Mm,
I can't. I'm pretty uncoachable because I'm
mm.
critical. And what I'm doing is I'm going to go do an ayahuasca ceremony.
Have you done it before?
I have not.
I've done half a dozen.
Yeah.
And I think that's a wonderful way to really um, to mix things up. I have a friend who's led ayahuasca journeys for 30 years, and he said, you can go through 10 years, 20 years of maybe coaching and things like that, and go from like, this to this in that time period, or do ayahuasca one night and go from this to this.
Well, that's
It's not for the faint of heart, and it can be a very incredibly powerful catalyst to
well,
break
again,
through
I
some
think you
of
need
those
that
layers.
third entity to get out of your head of duality. Because when I was drinking, I had to go through the AA stuff, and they said you have to admit that you're powerless over alcohol. And I could never do that because I'm powerless over the ingestion of alcohol if I consume it, but I can have a shot of tequila next to me and I just don't take it. So
Yeah,
I do
right.
have the power over it that way. And that's
Yep.
kind of why I'm doing the ayahuasca thing, because now I can't bullshit myself. And I don't think ayahuasca is like alcohol. I think alcohol is a poison, whereas I
Right.
think ayahuasca is a mind opening rewire my brain, because I think I got a lot of childhood stuff that's holding me back, and that's kind of
Yeah.
what you're talking about with the positive head and
Mm.
being able to look at something from a different point of view and flip the coin over and go, oh, this ain't so bad.
Right. It's everything. I always say the only thing I've been pretty good at, is telling good stories about myself. And if you are the creator and created rolled into one, your source, God experiencing itself through you, then you create. Abracadabra translate to I create as I speak. Right. Your words are your wands. You are spelling. You are casting a spell with your magic. Right. And
Mhm.
so the only thing that matters is what story are you telling around it. And a lot of times we can tell great stories around certain things, and we have things that are sticky for us, and we tell this bad story about how it was and we were a victim, or this is the way the world works, this is how things, and of course then the world reflects that back to you
Yeah.
because you're creating it, which is only reaffirming, right? And see, I told you this is the way the world works, and you're right, there's only one truth, your truth, right? And so here you are in this feedback loop that isn't serving you. And I always say, look back. I had a business partner years ago, very, very successful, a guy. And he used to, we'd talk about something we wanted to do that was unorthodox with, outside parties. Oh, you can't do that. And it's like, yeah, yeah. No, I understand you can't do it. But what would it look like if you could?
Right.
And so what if you go back to a story and say, yeah, yeah, I understand that's your story, and that's, you're sticking to that. But, what if it were different? Let's just imagine for a minute. Like, we talked about particles, right? Well, we know when you observe a particle in quantum physics, it's in a fixed state, right? When consciousness is not observing, it's in a state of quantum superposition or possibility.
Sure.
There's a great Schrodinger's cat you can research if you want to, see someone talk about that. So, what if you go back to your old stories that aren't serving you, and you put them in a state of quantum superposition? What if it was actually meant something totally different? What if, and you started playing in that way with the story around it? It's everything. Learning, all that matters is that you make up good. I started telling the story, I don't believe in getting sick, at 17 years old. I'm 49. people usually think I'm much younger than that. I've never been in a hospital. I've thrown up a handful of times. I can't say I never have been sick, but I just made that up. And I just started professing it to anyone who would listen. Oh, you got the flu? Give me a hug. I don't get sick. Oh, you don't? Okay, I'll tell that story with you, and voila.
Yeah, I
So,
just had a friend of mine. She said that I can't meet right now because I'm having I have my stomach flu's acting up, and
mhm,
she owned it. I
right.
said, "Don't do that."
Yeah, right. What story? John Lennon said his grandmother taught him, never talk about being sick. Talk about I'm in the process of healing,
Yeah.
right? It's like, which way are you looking at this?
It's like Abraham Hicks and the vortex thing. You just get out of that vortex of negativity and jump into the more of a positive head vortex.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. That definitely it's everything. It really is. And it's one thing to understand all this stuff theoretically, and it's another thing to walk the talk, especially when things are challenging, right? It's like Mike Tyson said, everyone's got a plan till you get punched in the face. And so
Right.
life punches us in the face and a lot. And that's where your work lies. You get to sharpen your axe.
Well, I do you do your own graphics and stuff, or you outsource that to a graphic designer?
I have a longtime friend who does a lot of that sort of stuff for
Well,
me.
it's very, very cool because I was looking at your optimistic, which I think is pretty cool.
Oh, yeah, thank you.
Optimistic. And
Yeah, the
then
late night
your
style show
golden
I did.
key thing. Could you share a little bit about the golden key and what that is?
Yeah, actually, speaking of the art on the cover of the Golden Key was really interesting because a good friend of mine, Vajra, who's a visionary artist, he's one of the top visionary artists in the world, incredible works. And I had him and I share in my book, The Golden Key, which I'm happy to gift to the audience, by the way. I can give them a code. Actually, I'll just throw that out if that's okay.
Sure.
If they go to goldenKey.gift, GIFT, and use the code LOVE, LOVE, you can get the audio and or ebook as a gift. And in it, I tell the story of me and my friend Vajra, how we came together and through synchronicity and crazy spiritual breadcrumbs, and it led to a great friendship. And then years later, I was going to write my book, and I had a dream about it and this vision, and I'm going to call it the Golden Key. And so I call him and I start pitching him. He's a top visionary artist in the world. So I'm like, Vajra, I had this dream, and here's what I'm supposed to do in this book called the Golden Key. And I give him my whole spiel, would you help me with the artwork? And he's like, well, let me tell you about my dream. A few months ago, had a dream. I was at your place. We call it the Mystic Manor, and I was hunting for the key to everything. And he went through this whole dream, and he's like, and the dream was so profound. I afterwards I started creating a painting of a key. So will I create the artwork for the cover of your book, The Golden Key? Yes, I started creating it months ago based off of a dream of searching for the key to everything at your place. And pretty magical, right? So yeah, that speaking of art, that's one of the magical stories that came around the book.
Well, I'm digging the stuff that you got going on here. It's just kind of have I interviewed you before? I'm kind of curious
Not that I recall, but
because
I have been on a lot of shows.
you're
So,
one of those people that looks familiar. So I have to
mm.
maybe go back into my YouTube channel and see if
You
I.
know how I open my book, The Golden Key? Nice. The first line is "Nice to meet you again for the first time." And
There we
you know,
go.
so the reason I say that is when you start thinking about and understanding that we're in eternity. And, as Dr. Eben Alexander, the, New York Times bestselling big author, super famous guy, talked about when he had his near-death experience, this Harvard neurosurgeon on the other side, he was shown that we reincarnate in soul groups and soul families, and the same people come back again and again in different roles: the lover, the brother, the sister, the friend, the enemy. The villains are often your biggest allies, friends on the other side. They play that role for you. So I always say, anyone that you're attracting out of 7-8 billion people on the planet, it's nice to meet you again for the first time. You have a real connection to that soul, or they wouldn't be showing up in your field. That which is like unto itself is drawn. So, yeah, we've met before. It's just a matter of when and where.
I talked about the concept of deja vu, where that comes in because we have an infinite amount of time and we got a finite amount of molecules, so it's inevitable that those molecules are going to rearrange in the
Mm,
same space
interesting.
again.
Ah, that's an interesting way to put it. I've never heard it put that way. I think of it like this. If time is an illusion and it's all happening in the eternal now, which I believe, so therefore my 5th birthday party is happening in this moment. It's on it just on a different channel, right?
Right.
But so is my 95th, assuming I'm still in physical, So the future affects the past the same way I'm sorry, the future affects the now the same way the past affects the now, right? Because it's all being felt, it's all
Right.
connected. And that's why a lot of times I'll have experiences of meeting someone and being like, oh my gosh, I know you. I can feel your energy. I already know you, this person. It's happened. I met a girlfriend years ago and I came back from an event. I barely connected with this person. I said, guys, I don't know how I know. I just know that's my future girlfriend. I can feel it. She feels like my girlfriend already. A year and a half later, she moved. She lived 4 hours away from me, moved to my town, and a month later we were together for years, and it's like, it's felt. The energy of the future is felt. And that's, I think, where you get the psychic and intuitive kind of stuff coming in
Yeah, when
as
things
well.
are vibrating at the same frequency, kind of like the tuning fork kind of thing, and to like
Mm,
assimilate.
yep.
Because that,
So,
that happened with me. I went and saw Deepak Chopra, and he was talking about in this little teeny tiny little space right here, there's all these different frequencies, and you just got to tune into them.
yeah.
Your phone, my phone, the pagers, the emergency systems, the radio stations, the TV stations, all in that spot. You just got to tune into it, and
Yep.
then you can resonate with it.
You got it. I agree.
So here's the golden key dot gift, and the
That's it.
code to access it is love, right?
Love. Yep. You got it.
Cool. And then here's your website. If you want to know how to get a hold of Brandon, this is the way to do it. And this is for your podcast, I think.
Yeah. You can find the podcast there and
Very cool.
links to Optimistic, the late night style show you mentioned.
Well, we've
And
gone for about 20 minutes, Brandon. Is there anything else you might want to share before I
the
close
thing that
out?
I'll leave people with is people oftentimes I find get really stuck in this world of social media and stack ranking and followers and this sort of thing. Judging, oh, if I'm not 25 and a billionaire, then I'm a loser. Oh, I don't have enough followers. Oh, my podcast isn't big enough. Whatever that story is. And what I would say is that story is really damaging. The truth of the matter is the truth of the truth of the truth is that you are as worthy as any other soul ever has been, could be, or will be of all the greatest things that life has to offer, because you are it. It is you. Anything that you see, that you attract, that you admire, don't create separation between it. Instead, say, that's such a close reflection of me out of infinite things vying for my precious attention. It's what's front and center in my movie because I'm such a close match to it. So I'm calling in more of whatever that person represents or whatever that thing is. And instead of creating the separation, you create the story of unification, and then you absorb the thing that you want and bring it closer to you and remember your worthiness, because it's true. You are it. It is you. There is nothing other than the one. So if anyone's been worthy, you're worthy because there's only you. It's everywhere you go. You're there waiting for yourself. It's you reflecting you back to you. You're this lead actor, director, star in your own private movie. Remember, come back to remembering that.
Well, that was very well put. That's a golden nugget for the golden key right there. Okay. I'm going to put you into the green room. If you want to hang out, we can talk later. But if you got to get going, I get it. But if you want, there's some digital hors d'oeuvres in there, and they're all low calorie, and vegan if you want.
Amazing. That is truly magical, Brad. Thank you, my
Okay,
friend.
thank you, Brandon. I appreciate the time.
Yeah, likewise. Bye
Take
for
care.
now.
Well, there you have it. His name is Brandon Beachum. And here's his website. If you want to learn more about his podcast, it's Positive Head right here. And then if you want that gift that he offered, the golden key gift, and the code is love. So if you can remember that, you can remember everything. Okay, that's it. Peace, love, and happiness. Enjoy the rest of your day. Be good, be kind, be nice. Did I say be nice? Yes, I did. Be nice.